So it's always a good time. And Reed's also a classic streamer. Be sure to check him out as well. And I see we have our next host. Hello, welcome. It was good. It was really good. It's always fun seeing these runs. There's a lot of shorter runs today, which is also interesting. Keeps my attention sometimes a little bit better. So it was a good time. It was a good time. I'm sure you'll have a great few runs. I don't know how many you're doing, but hopefully I, warmed up for you well enough. Thanks everyone. I'll chat with you later.
Test 1, test 2, 3, 4. Hello, everybody. All right, everybody. Sorry about that. There's this weird little bug that happens specifically with me in the intermission channel. Always fun. But I'm very happy to be here. Again, everybody give a big hand to Lexi. I already said that once, but say thank you, Lexi. She did a fantastic job. I'm here joining you today for the Pikmin block of SDAT 2023. Very excited for it. I was saying earlier, Pikmin 2 is my favorite game of all time casually. So I'm very, very excited to see the run itself. Also, we do have a donation incentive coming up for Pikmin 3 that, as far as I'm aware, has not been met yet. And it is to make the end a bit more difficult. And I'm going to think that we're going to want to reach that because I don't know about you. I really, really want to make the run harder. The chameleons from CT would definitely eat Pikmin Quill. 110%. Especially, probably Davy. Davy would Davy would specifically and exclusively want to eat purples. And I feel like White would be the only one that could eat white Pikmin and not get poisoned. We are currently getting set up for the next run, though. I do believe we're pretty close, so everybody just hang tight. We'll get right into the Pikmin block, starting with Pikmin 2, All Debts. I've personally watched a ton of Pikmin 2 speedruns. It's one of those games where I've decided not to ever speedrun it, mostly because, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of my favorite casual game, you know, and I feel like speedrunning it will take away some of that magic that I feel when I play it. But at the same time, the runs are excellent to watch. Very high skill ceiling, very fun. Adventure Potato, I did like Pikmin 4. I liked it quite a bit. A comparison that a lot of people have been making lately is Pikmin 1 and 3 are very similar games, whereas Pikmin 2 and 4 are very similar. Now, to be clear, I don't dislike Pikmin 1. I just prefer 2. There's definitely kind of a dichotomy of Pikmin fans out there where you have people who are like 1 3-ers and 2 4-ers. I am a 2 4-er, if that makes any sense at all. Let's be careful on the Pikmin 4 talk, though. Some people may not want the spoilers. I will say, though, and this isn't much of a spoiler, the auto-target system was a little in Pikmin 4. Everything else, though, smooth sailing, in my opinion. Yeah, everybody tell me in chat, what's your favorite Pikmin game? Are you a 1 3-er or a 2 4-er? Us 2 4-ers got to stick together. We'll just also forget that Hey Pikmin even exists at all. We're going to get this started, though.
Miss.
And we're back, everybody. Sorry about the brief technical difficulties with the bumpers, but hey, we got to see some cool bumpers, right? Anyway, my name is Kefka14. Welcome to SDAT 2023. We are here with the Pikmin block, starting off with my personal favorite game ever, literally, Pikmin 2, being ran by Curtis. Curtis, if you'd like to go ahead and take it away, go right ahead, my friend.
All right, thank you for the introduction. My name's Curtis. Among other things, I am a Pikmin 2 speedrunner, and today we're going to be doing Payoff Debt, which is the equivalent of any % for this game. And I'm here with SBU Diver, who is going to be doing 3DX All Fruits right after this run, so stick around if you're interested in that one. If you want to say hi, SBU.
Hello.
And we're just gonna get right into it, I guess, if we're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Do you want me to give a countdown, or is somebody else going to count me down?
You can go right ahead and give the countdown, dude.
Okay, so we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1, go. So, if you've never played the first game, basically Olimar crash lands on the distant planet, and he has to get the Pikmin to help him rebuild his ship and go home. So in Pikmin 2, he does go home, and then he finds out that his company is in a bunch of debt, and so the president sends him back to the planet to get a bunch of valuable treasures to repay the debt. And that will be the goal of this run, to collect 10,000 Pokos and pay the debt off. So this run starts out pretty fast with a pretty interesting trick here on day one. SBU, I guess you can explain it while I do it if you want.
So instead of doing the 6-minute long tutorial, what Curtis is going to do is he's going to whistle a Pikmin, and then he's going to clip the Pikmin out of bounds and kill it. And what that's going to do is going to trigger a Pikmin extinction, which automatically ends the day and skips the tutorial. And that saves about 2 or 3 minutes, because even though we have no Pikmin, we do skip this 6-minute tutorial. And it also has various side effects later. We're going to be doing the tutorial section and not the tutorial area, which is kind of strange. We also don't collect the tutorial treasure, so when we return to this area later on in the run, we're going to have to collect it then, and that has other interesting effects.
Yeah, and that pretty much sums it up. We don't get to skip quite all of the cutscenes and stuff, but the majority of the time save is because the tutorial area is meant to be like this big, huge, like U-shaped area where you carry stuff back and forth after growing a bunch of reds pretty slowly, and we just get to streamline a lot of it and do it in this cute little area with the ship, and the red onion moved out of its original spot, which is pretty helpful.
So the start of this run, it's just going to be pretty similar to the tutorial section where we're just growing Pikmin, but instead of it being in that U-shaped area, it's just right in front of the base, which speeds it up significantly. So this cutscene's not supposed to normally trigger here, so it is a little bit different, but it's generally the same as the tutorial, just in a different spot.
And so we need this dwarf bulborb here that's supposed to be from the tutorial day to grow some more reds, but unfortunately red leaves move quite slow, so it's a lot faster to lure this guy right under here and get a quick little carry up into the onion, and it looks pretty cool as well.
Are you attempting Louis skip?
No, I am not. We can talk a little bit about that on day 4, I guess. But yeah, that cutscene is a little interesting. If you skip that cutscene like frame perfectly at the wrong time, in some weird circumstances, then you don't get those seeds, so you have to pay attention there.
Yeah, I think it's like, if it's in the onion but hasn't spit out yet, and you skip the cutscene then, it won't actually spit out the seeds. So you have to wait a bit.
There's a lot of weird quirks like that in this game, and the deeper you dig, the more questions you have, which is always a good sign. But yeah, day 3 is going to be pretty autopilot. We're just going to be growing the last of the reds that we need to move on with these pellets.
The other benefit of doing the growth phase like this is we have to menu to day 4 quicker, and we want to get to day 4 even in the glitchless route because that's when nectar spawns. And basically nectar is going to turn all our leaf Pikmin into flower Pikmin, which is going to speed them up, and faster Pikmin is obviously beneficial in a speedrun.
Yeah, flower Pikmin walk faster and they carry treasures significantly faster, which is huge for a run that's all about carrying and collecting stuff. So even though it's gonna take a bit of time to nectar our Pikmin here, it's gonna save like 10 times that amount of time back, which is pretty nice. Common misconception is that flowered Pikmin do not deal more damage, which is apparently something that people think to be true, but it actually is not.
Another thing is we don't get the spicy sprays, but spicy sprays are believed to do more damage, but they actually don't. They just speed up the attack speed. So they do the same damage but attack faster and end up doing more damage, but aren't.
Well, yeah, it standardizes the damage. So like reds and purples deal more damage by default. So like in their case, it actually isn't directly a benefit all the time. Yeah, sprays are an interesting thing that we will not be seeing in this run, despite how OP they are casually. But yeah, so day 4 is pretty interesting because it's the first part of the run where we can do like significant multitasking. So the thing limiting us the most right now is those 2 5 pellets. Had to just make sure I counted exactly 10 there, otherwise I would have had to fix that. But yeah, we're waiting for those 5 pellets to get in and to be able to pluck those reds. So while that's happening, we're gonna go and do some other stuff, like push this egg down this slope, which looks a lot harder than it is. But yeah, that just allows us to spawn the nectar out of that egg really close to the onion instead of like miles away from the onion. Because otherwise we'd have to go all the way up there and around with all our leaves and it'd be really slow. But yeah. Now this is just some plucking. It looks pretty silly, like just sitting here plucking a bunch of Pikmin and growing Pikmin for like 3 minutes or something. But it's way better to get your squad of Pikmin. Okay. This is a thing I was not expecting. That actually was not that bad. So
Matites are
this is
that enemy there. It's a 1 in 20 chance to spawn from eggs instead of just getting nectar. So because we got Matites, Curtis is skilled enough to kill a few. So it's going to be a little bit of a route change. Normally you would just get nectar, you would flower, and then you would leave, but this actually worked out fine because he killed like 5.
If you kill enough to get over like the minimum we expect, so like right here you would enter the first cave here normally with 52 or 53, but I'm going to be entering with 56, so I actually am going to save time. 57, sorry, yeah. You get 1 from this cutscene right here. But yeah, I'm going to be entering with more, so I'm going to save time on, not on this split because killing those bugs takes a little bit of time. But overall, in the run, we use reds for like the first hour or so, and that means I'm going to have some more Pikmin for that pretty significant portion of the run, which is really nice.
So that cutscene right there was Louis Skip, which we were talking about earlier. On day 2 and 3, if you can do a frame perfect pause right as you walk into that onion, and it's frame perfect, so it's not really ideal for a marathon. So if you press it frame perfectly, you can end the day and actually skip that cutscene there, and we would skip watching it. The only downside is we don't get the extra Pikmin from that cutscene, but it saves like the cutscene's like 15 seconds, so it's more than worth it to skip the 1 Pikmin.
Yeah, it doesn't quite lose 15 seconds to watch the cutscene because while the cutscene was playing, the gate was still being worked on. And if I was carrying anything back, then that stuff would have continued to carry back during the cutscene, as long as the text is not on the screen.
Yeah,
so it's not that bad to watch the cutscene. It's more of an issue of like if you go for Louis Skip and you activate the cutscene at the wrong time, then it loses like a lot of time because you're watching the cutscene at like the worst possible place. So yeah. Also, I lost a red, but it's fine because I have extra reds.
This is the kind of tutorial cave, and this first level is actually one of the harder sublevels to do optimally because you don't have purple Pikmin, which we're about to get, to make combat easier. So it's kind of a little bit messy, but it's overall fine.
In the grand scheme of Pikmin 2, it's pretty easy, but you know, it's combat that you don't necessarily do that much in the run, so yeah. I guess I should mention that normally what you would see people do in these runs is not save the game between these sublevels. Luckily, I happen to own a memory card that loses like 1 frame per save, so I just run with memory card anyway. But even if that weren't the case, I would still be doing this run with memory card because if you have a disaster on a sublevel where it's like you lose a lot of Pikmin and you aren't using memory card, then that's pretty much just run over on the spot. So we don't want that to happen in this run, so regardless of the speed of my memory card, I would be using one.
So Curtis here... Oh, gone?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about. I noticed you picked up a monster on the previous floor, a small white dwarf bulborb. Why did you do that exactly? I'm assuming it has something to do with the payoff debt route.
So when you collect enemies in caves, you can't grow Pikmin in caves because you don't have onions. So instead, what happens in Pikmin 2 is they get collected into the ship, and you get a small amount of Pokos. That's actually really critical in payoff debt because we end up collecting like 260 Pokos of bugs. Which is more than like several treasures in the game. So we collect like a fairly significant amount of money just from those bugs.
Yeah, so whenever we have downtime in a floor, we're usually going to spend it doing something. And one of those things we can do is collect bugs, which is, as Curtis said, we collect a lot of them. throughout the run. So, for example, on like a floor with one treasure inside like an enemy, we could collect the treasure and the enemy, and instead of like 150 Pokos, we'll get 157, and that adds up a lot throughout the run.
That's actually what that cutscene right there is supposed to tell you, is that the bugs aren't worth that much when you collect them in caves. But they're actually, like, critical for payoff debt, as in, like, after almost every cave exit, I'm going to be looking at my Pokos and seeing what my money is like to base my decision-making in the future caves. Because I need to know whether it's worth going for certain bugs. Because like we mentioned, Pikmin 2 is very much not a game where you're doing the same thing every time, because the layouts are random, so that also means you're not getting the exact same bugs every time, so you need to make decisions throughout the run for what bugs in particular you want to be collecting. Which is why Pikmin 2, despite being a very frustrating game sometimes if you're getting unlucky, it is a game that I come back to a lot just because of all the different like possibilities and ways to play floors, ways to route, things to collect, like which way to play a certain layout optimally. We have a lot of discussions in the community when we see a new... Oh, I pressed B on accident apparently, didn't think I did. But yeah, we have a lot of discussions at the top level on like what is the best way of approaching a sub-level and stuff.
Yeah, we'll have like an hour or two long conversations over just a different route that saves 2 or 3 seconds on just one specific layout. And it's honestly just really cool seeing the outside features of the speedrun besides just go fast.
Okay, so this above ground is entering the first cave in Awakening Wood. But we also need to break down this giant black gate right here, which has a ton of health, and it's in the way of a lot of stuff that we need to do in this area. I don't know why that cutscene took like forever, but sure. But yeah, so in the meantime, we're going to be growing some more Pikmin because we have a little bit of downtime and nothing better to do. So if you have anything that you want to read or plug right here, this would be a pretty good time, in my opinion, to do it. So yeah.
All right, thanks very much. Just as a reminder, everybody, this is SDAT 2023. We are raising money for Save the Children, fantastic charity. Any little bit you donate can help save and change many lives. That being said, what are your donations going towards otherwise? I do want to make a bit of a plug for this Pikmin block. There is a donation incentive for the Pikmin 3 Deluxe run, where the incentive is to make the end of the run a bit more difficult. Personally, I would love to see that hit, not only because I am in this block and I'm a little biased, but also because who doesn't want to make a speedrun a little bit harder, am I right? I mean, it's just a fun time. Again, thanks.
Alright, so we are approaching the end of this wall needing to be hit by these Pikmin. I'm going to go for a cool strat though while this is happening. So there's an enemy on the other side of there that we need to kill because it's going to be in the way on all the other above grounds. And those 3 reds are going to go very courageously over there and do that. So the tech that I use to do that is called long throws. In the GameCube versions of 1 and 2, your Pikmin inherit your momentum when you throw them while you're moving, which is really useful because it's a lot faster to like run and throw a Pikmin from a distance than it is to like walk all the way up to something and then throw Pikmin. And so doing it there just let me hit the burrow knit from a little further away and save like a second or two. So this is a randomly generated sub-level, and it is also very dark on my monitor because I'm playing on a new-ish monitor that I'm not as used to. There's a lot of bugs on this layout in particular.
Yeah, something we actually do is because the layouts are not the same every time, we have to look around. So we'll actually increase the brightness on monitors to make it easier to do that.
Unfortunately, my monitor is at 100% brightness, and I still can't see very well on floors, so it's a bit of an issue, but you know, we deal with it, I guess. Also, nice camera angle with that plant. Just like right up in front of the camera, that doesn't always happen. Yeah, so on the next floor, we're going to be growing some more purples because 10 is not quite enough for us. And then the next floor is pretty simple, so if there is anything else... Oh, actually, the hole being right there is not something you see every day, but yeah, just a quick little dismiss trick and take care of it, but yeah. Pretty simple stuff for the next like minute and a half, if there's anything that needs to be said.
I actually had another question about this run. To what degree are white Pikmin going to come into play later on? Because I know they have a fast movement speed.
Yeah, they're very useful.
Whites are, in my opinion, the most important Pikmin in this run, even over purples. Unfortunately, we have to wait until the next cave to get them. But yes, we will be using white Pikmin a lot. And we can explain more of what they do when we get there, I suppose, because we don't quite have access to them yet.
So yeah, this next floor is just use the fire Pikmin to avoid the fire, so if you want to read a few donations, go ahead.
I actually had a comment myself about Pikmin 2 again, if that's okay. Basically, one thing I remember being mostly an issue as far as the different hazards go is that you can deal with any hazard with any Pikmin type with the exception of electricity. And I remember that being a huge issue in my first playthrough of this game in particular, because I kind of just got used to sort of timing the fire shoots with whatever Pikmin type I had. But electricity just is, well...
you actually can also deal with electricity with any color, and spoiler alert, we actually are not going to be getting yellows at all in this run. Because there may or may not be a sequence break coming up in about like 10 to 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. So it's actually poison or white hazard that you can't deal with without white Pikmin, because the electricity does turn off. It's similar to the fire geyser. And then I guess technically if something's in the water, then we would be required to use blue Pikmin, but I don't think we do any of that in this run.
Well, above ground we do. No.
Yeah, above ground, but not in caves.
Yeah, in caves, every time we see water, we just say no, and we say we are not going to get that treasure. I thought I'd heard a Pikmin on fire. I guess not. So this floor is the first floor where we have to turn on our neuron activation and use our brain, because it actually has like realistic differences in the layouts.
Yeah, it's not like the floors before this. It's kind of like make a left instead of a right where the treasure's at this position, but this floor is actually, it's got a lot of variance, so you do have to think and come up with a game plan.
Not a lot of variance. It's more than, it's by far the most that we've seen so far in the run, but comparatively it's not as much as some later floors. Yeah, the card can be in any of those alcoves, including the candy cane room, which it was also in this run. There's going to be a boss here, and I'm going to attempt a quick kill. See if I get it or not. That looked fine. Nope. Alright. So what you want there is for her to like do a little slow shake instead of trying to shake off all the Pikmin right away.
So a strat that we would normally do is we time it with her breathing, and that's when we know when to start the attack to get the slow shake, hopefully. But something more modern is that if you rush her right as soon as you get into the sub-level, it actually lines up perfectly with when you want to attack her.
I call this the dice roll trick because it never works when you want it to, and you don't know how it works very well either. Because it's not 100% consistent. There is a method where you approach it from the side, which is a little bit more consistent, but the method I went for is like 5 seconds faster or something. So unfortunately it didn't work, but that's okay because we only lost 1 red. If you fail to whistle off all your Pikmin, you can lose the entire run and or have to reset the sub-level, which would not be very good. So, you know, like 25-second loss, but that's okay.
So the treasure here we're getting is the treasure gauge, which on top of being 200 Pokos, which is very valuable in this run, it gives us the gauge, which will show up in the bottom right corner, which basically will alert when we're near treasure, which is very helpful when we're dealing with treasures inside enemies or treasures that are buried.
Yes. Even if it were in a much worse location to get, we would still go out of our way to get it because it is crucial to know where stuff is. So this enters very quick. We're just going to go into White Flower Garden, and as the name suggests, we are going to be unlocking whites in there, finally, which are the most useful type of Pikmin in this run. And this is also going to be the first cave of many that we are not completing the whole way, because as you may have noticed at the end of Hole of Beasts, we got a little cutscene saying we collected everything in the cave, and as it turns out, that's very slow. So we want to not get those in any of the other caves, and it turns out all the other caves have inexpensive treasures where it's easy to skip them and helps us avoid that.
Yeah, we only do it in Hole of Beast and Emergence Cave because the treasures are worth so much Pokos that it's fine to get that cutscene anyways, because it's still worth it.
Yeah, if you skipped the cheapest treasure in that cave, it would be slower than just getting it and getting the cutscene, so that's why we do it. You might notice that I intentionally went out of my way to go to the hole as Louie. This is because whichever captain you enter a hole with determines which, except for above ground, it determines which captain you will start the next sublevel as. The main difference is that if you start as Olimar, then Louie is in your party by default, even if you don't whistle him. But that is not the case if you start with Louie. I did not see where everything was. Okay, it's the cool trick layout.
So the reason why we don't want Olimar in our party by starting on Louie is because on this layout, one treasure can be directly to the left and one can be to the right. So what we can do is we can bump a few Pikmin, run to the treasure on the left, and then switch to Olimar and get the treasure on the right, and that's quite a bit faster than if you were to have both captains in your party.
So the trick that I went for on this floor was long throwing Pikmin across the gap, which can be up to like 3 seconds faster if you do it well, which I feel like I did it fairly well, except for the part where I killed 2 of my reds. But it's okay because we had extra reds from early game, so it's not a huge deal.
So now
we did get the time save.
So now we're down to 73, which is what we would normally be at if he hadn't gotten the extra reds.
It's okay, they died for a worthy sacrifice of me showing off a cool trick that basically me and like one other runner do. But okay, so here's where we get white Pikmin. And it turns out they will be incredibly useful right away because this floor has the first buried treasure. And if a treasure is completely buried in the ground, then you need whites to start digging it up, and then other colors can join in. But we want to multitask that while it's happening, so we're going to pluck a few of these and then go over and start the treasure. It turns out there are also honey wisps on this floor, which give nectar, and it turns out flowered Pikmin, once again, are the savior, and they are a lot faster. So we're gonna take advantage of that and flower our whites right away. I think flower adds like a flat rate of speed onto any Pikmin type. So
yeah,
it's very useful no matter what color it is. And
what Curtis is
close enough that we can swap it out with whites, which you will be seeing probably a lot in this run because whites move so much faster than every other color that a lot of times it's faster to take Pikmin off or even completely stop a treasure just to make sure you're putting whites on it.
Yeah, purples are also the slowest treasures, so he takes off purples specifically because whites are the fastest, reds, blues, and yellows are the same speed, and then purples are slower.
Correct. With this treasure, normally you try to take off purples, but if it's at like a weird angle, then you just put whites on immediately, because it's more important that you get the whites on as soon as possible, more than anything. I did not see where it was, because once again, dark monitor moments. Pretty sure it's over here though, in an alcove, yeah. So this mushroom is the treasure we're skipping in this cave because it's only worth 30 pokos, and we only have 15 whites right now, so we couldn't max white carry everything on this floor if we tried to get that treasure. So it ends up being very slow to get.
Even if we were to collect the mushroom for absolutely free, the 10-second cutscene of collecting the treasure plus the 8-second cutscene of cave completion wouldn't even be worth it just to get the mushroom, because it's only worth 30 pokos and it has 18 seconds of cutscenes attached to it.
So this is the floor where we fight the next boss and get the best upgrade in the game, which you may not think so if you've played this game casually and never seen the speedrun before. But it turns out that this upgrade is very, very broken.
So what it can do is it allows the captain to turn into a treasure and lets the Pikmin carry it. And this game has treasure waypoints to determine where the Pikmin should carry the treasure. And if you actually use that in specific spots, you can use that to climb up walls, essentially. And we're going to be seeing that very, very soon, as well as a major sequence break. Don't forget to save.
Yes, I very much so need to save after I leave this cave, which is not something that we normally do. But if you mess up the trick in specific ways, then you are very, very screwed. So, yeah, definitely need a save file before I do this. The sequence break is actually a combination of like 4 or 5 different tricks, like all put together into one split, which is really cool. It's kind of tough if you're like new to this game and trying to learn it, especially trying to do the trick fast as well, but I mean, you get used to it after a little practice. The worst thing about it is that there's roughly a 20% chance that even if you do everything right, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So hopefully that doesn't happen. Okay, that worked first try. That knapsack trick to get up the ledge sometimes likes to be very finicky and not work, but luckily got it first try. Time
So
scale
this is the
movement
first.
with this cutscene. Very important. You can keep talking if you want while I do the trick.
That was what I was going to say.
Okay.
So Curtis is taking a very thin line through this little out of bounds spot, and he's doing that to get to this cave. And then if he times his knapsack correctly, he's going to turn into a treasure and fall into the void. And when he's at treasure and it falls into the void, it has waypoints to determine where the treasure is going to respawn. And if you time it correctly, you can position it so it respawns you in the blue onion area. And there's about a 20% chance that it just kills Olimar instead, and you can't proceed with the run. So that's why we needed to save.
So here there's a 1 in 3 chance that this white decides to carry us to blue, and we need that right now. Preferably sooner rather than later.
Yeah, this knapsack only works if it carries it to yellows, which we don't have, or carries it to blues while it's in the onion area.
Yeah, before we've moved the blue onion back to the base, specifically. It will not work if we've done that.
There's an interesting question in chat here from Quill and All the Fish, who asks, wasn't there a patch that was used for a bit to make this soft lockless?
So Jack Draz, the world record holder, plays with patch, but it's actually banned on the leaderboards. So I'm pretty sure he's the only one that does that.
The current world record, by the way, does not use patch because he decided to do a random run without patch, and it just so happened to be the best run anybody's ever done. But yeah, the patch, quote unquote, is a gecko code to get it working on console, so that's why it's not allowed at the moment. If you're like newer to this game or like playing on emulator or something, I would definitely advise running with patch until you're a little bit better, just because it sucks to do everything correctly and still be forced to reset when you're new. Because I think one of the most important things to improving in Pikmin 2 is finishing runs. And obviously if you're forced to end your run for a reason like that, that's not very good. But yeah, obviously at top level we do not use the patch if we wish to submit to the boards. Okay, I expected him to die, and he did not die.
So what Curtis did there is he brought the orange Bulborb closer to the ship, and the orange Bulborb is carrying the treasure, and he walks faster than we can carry it, so that's why I did that.
It's critical with enemies like this one because we want to also collect the body, so we're moving 2 things closer to the ship. Okay,
yeah.
That was the Bulborb. If I see my Pokos go up by 7, I know I got it, and I don't have to turn around and check. So this
We also
floor
skipped
is
that feather there.
Yeah, the feather is only worth 10 Pokos, so we skip it because it adds like 20 seconds to that floor plus a cutscene. So this floor is a demon and likes to be horrible. This is like pretty standard though. I'm gonna do a strat here. So there's also a white flower on this floor in addition to the treasure we're getting, and as we see, whites are very, very fast, and we talked about them being like critically important. So we want to grow more of them at the soonest available opportunity, which happens to be right now. That sushi is not the treasure we're getting. I'm sorry, jelly donut is not the treasure we're getting. It is this strawberry. Because the jelly donut is 40 Pokos, and this berry is 190. So we're getting this one.
So on those big flower enemy guys, Curtis is just throwing 1 red Pikmin on them, and 1 red Pikmin will actually just distract them, usually, so he doesn't actually have to kill them.
Fortunately, that guy still managed to eat a Pikmin off the treasure. And it happens to be a white as well, which is not very good. Oh, that guy ate the red that was on him. Oh, this might be bad, actually.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Okay, he
it normally works.
Off, so I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be fine. If he completely stopped the treasure, then that would have, like, screwed me, basically. Those guys are, like, unbelievably favored to just be distracted with that Pikmin forever and not eat it, but that was very unlucky that that happened on both of those guys.
Curtis also kept the strawberry on camera there, because when it passes over the bridge, if it's not on camera, it can very likely just dip into the water and actually stop the treasure.
Yeah, so like not only does that like make the treasure slower and or stop it completely, but you also like lose those Pikmin for free, so very good to keep it on camera when it has to cross the water. I don't remember if that happens with the other treasure or not. It might just be the
I assume it
strawberry.
does.
It might happen with the other one.
I mean, we usually carry it with blues in all treasures, so...
Oh yeah, you might also notice that this cave has water and we didn't bring blues in. That's because we're not going to be getting any treasures that require blues. Which is really nice because the blue onion is currently in Narnia and it would take forever for us to get blues in here. So this guy has a treasure and he also has the Saggart head. By the way, everybody get down. I'm sorry if you got by this treasure right now. Shout out to Jack for that one. I didn't put as many on this gate as I thought I did, I guess. But yeah, the Saggart head is worth 10 and that treasure is worth 40, so still worth it to get it, even though it's not worth all that much.
Yeah, it's only 50 Pokos, but it's so fast that you might as well just get it.
And we have the treasure gauge to tell us which Saggart has the treasure, which is convenient. If that were not the case, we probably would just skip that floor entirely. because imagine having to kill 2 Snagrets to get that treasure. I think the beetle's here, but okay, yeah, it is. I was getting a little duped by the gauge, but I thought it was in here. So this guy falls from the sky and has a treasure, and there's only one of them that falls from the sky and has a treasure. The other one is just sitting around on the ground somewhere, and we like to forget that he exists because he likes to kill runs. But yeah, so there's also a cherry on this floor, shout out to Max25, but that treasure is also worth so little that it's not even worth the time to go over there and just throw 6 whites on it and collect it.
Yeah, if it's like 100% free to get without stopping any carries, it is technically worth it, but 99% of the time, there's no reason to ever get it.
It also tends to be like super out of the way. Like on this layout, it wouldn't have been that bad to collect, but there are layouts where like the marble and the magnet are like right next to each other, and the cherry is like all the way on the other side. So yeah, very obviously do not get those. This floor is interesting because it's the first floor with an antenna beetle, which I did not see. Okay, it's over there. These guys block the treasure gauge, so we have to kill him before we can find where the other treasure is. Unless we got extremely lucky and found the other treasure like on the way to this guy, which happens occasionally, but not very often. It is this guy though, so we are chilling.
So I'll explain the next floor ahead of time. So this is a floor that we're going to skip, but it has a chance to have a treasure that we want on the way to the exit. And if that's the case, we essentially can collect it for free and skip a treasure later on in the run, which would be nice, but it's not guaranteed.
Through my testing on that floor, it's like roughly like 20% of runs have that treasure be gettable on the next floor, and like 10% of them are ones that are even good to begin with. So if we see it, it's really nice. If we don't see it, then, you know, we have the backup strats, so it's fine. Basically, if you see a dwarf bulborb fall from the sky on the next floor, then we are celebrating.
Unless it's in water.
Yeah, unless it's in water or like has water in the way. There's also another white flower here, but if it's like behind a gate, then I will not be getting this one. Okay, it's right here, so I will be getting this one. This is kind of a new development actually, because we didn't used to get the white flower here, but it turns out that it makes the next like 20 minutes of the run really, really nice if we have more whites. Ooh, hello. That is very, very welcome to see.
This is very good RNG, because that's one of the faster layouts you can get to get that treasure.
The hole is also not gated, so I don't have to worry about that. At least I'm pretty sure it's not gated. I am second guessing myself because I couldn't see very well.
If it isn't gated, this is like the type of RNG you need for like the world record.
Yeah, this would be considered a very good 6. So we are now up 120 Pokos, which is really nice, because now our options open up a lot for the rest of the run. Because there's several different things we can skip depending on layouts and stuff. I didn't see if there was an empty alcove with an egg. Okay, so this is the pileated snagret. This guy is a demon for a lot of people casually, but hopefully we just get a really nice quick kill.
This guy also has a chance to crash the game, which wouldn't be ideal.
Okay,
there's like, there's a whole compilation of, it's pretty rare crash, but in May 2022, every single runner was getting like a crash just about daily. It's like the whole compilation of it.
I did not see where the geyser is. Okay, it's behind a gate, so good thing I kept all my Pikmin with me. If the geyser is not gated, then you can just, you know, put all your Pikmin on this and it goes a lot faster. An egg on this floor was pretty critical because like 30% of my Pikmin were leaves before then. Sometimes in Snaggered Hole you just don't get a very good opportunity to nectar your Pikmin, and then you end up having leaves for like a while. because it turns out there's not a whole lot of good places to nectar for like a long time unless you like force it. Okay, so a little behind on bugs, but we have lens, so that makes up for it, I guess.
So this next split is the most complicated split in the game. We're basically going to be clearing out the rest of the Awakening Wood above ground treasures, growing a bunch of blue Pikmin, and then going to the next cave. So what Curtis threw that Pikmin at the start is he's throwing it onto a bunch of sheer grubs, and during all this, that blue Pikmin is going to kill all the sheer grubs so we can collect them later.
Yeah, the TLDR on this split is that there's a lot of stuff happening, and it was routed out like very particularly. One blue didn't go with to the bridge, but that's fine because I have extra blues. But yeah, we're getting 4 treasures and growing blues and entering BK, and the order that we do everything in, oh, okay, could have kept that blue, but that's fine. The order we're doing everything in is very particular. Oh, okay. Did not anticipate grabbing that red, but it's fine. Yeah, so like any little deviation in the order we're doing stuff in would lose a lot of time, so it's pretty important that you do this well if you aim to go fast. Oh, that's still gettable. I thought it was gonna go in the water.
If Curtis played it a little bit faster, he could have actually beat the bridge here, but it's fine.
Okay, this is a bit of a nightmare right now because this glint beetle decided to stick around, but it's okay. Somebody's dying. I don't know who it is.
It's a white in the water.
Well, -1 white, I guess. That could have gone a lot better, and I'm probably going to get cutscenes now. So when cutscenes activate in this game, there's like a period of like 1.5 seconds where you just can't input anything except for cameras. So hopefully that does not happen right here when I'm trying to do this. Okay, it's probably going to happen. Which means that I'm going to preemptively stop things so that I don't get screwed over by it. Okay, so you need to stand in a very particular place for this one to work. And
Yeah, if you stand too far up.
Okay, I did not expect that to work, so I got up prematurely. This split could be going a lot better, if I'm being honest. But it's sort of one of those things where it's like once one thing starts going wrong, like everything starts going wrong, so, you know, that'll happen.
This game in general can snowball very easily.
I think I missed out on some blues from that, so I might have to overgrow a few more. Go out of my way to grow a few extra blues, just to be safe. The goal with blues is to get like 60, because we want, like, when we go to the area after this, we want to be able to take out all our whites and most of our purples and then fill up the rest of the space with blues. And the timing on things is pretty particular, so you want around like 58 to 60 ideally. Which I feel like I'll have, because I think the 2 pellets that I didn't get were red, which is fine. Yeah, this is pretty much taken care of at this point, so a little bit of downtime with some easiness, some easy floors coming up if you have anything to read.
Not particularly at the moment, but just as a reminder to those of you just tuning in, this is SDAT 2023. You are here during the Pikmin block, obviously. We are raising money for Save the Children. We've got a variety of fantastic incentives. If somebody, mod in chat perhaps, would like to plug where you can do donations and check out the different incentives we have for runs coming up, including one for Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which is happening right after this run. Actually, that's interesting. The current commentator will be doing that run, and Curtis will be doing commentary on that, if I'm not mistaken. So there'll be a nice little flip-flop going on there. I do have randomly one more comment about this game, the Leviathan feather back in the Snagrid hole was like the one treasure I was missing on my very first playthrough of this game, just because I'd never noticed it laying in the back of that room for whatever reason, and it was frustrating. That's all. Continue.
Oh yeah, for sure. It doesn't help that it's a... Okay, that did not go to plan, but that's fine, I guess. It's why we grow extra whites, I suppose. So yeah, when stuff like that goes wrong...
There's backups later.
Yeah, luckily I grew extra whites, so that's not the end of the world. If I were entering the next above ground with like 15 whites, then I would be a little bit more concerned, but... I think it was like 4 dead whites.
It was 4, yeah.
Okay.
So you're down, I think, 6, but you grew 5 more, so you should be at 19, I think.
Yeah, it should be fine. So those big orange bulborbs wake up when you get near them, as opposed to the red and white ones that wake up when you like physically run up and touch them. So the strat there normally is get some Pikmin close by to wake him up and then lure him back, but unfortunately the dwarves that were in the way made that a little tricky, so I ended up in a bit of an awkward spot. So these dweevils stun when you just throw 1 purple at them, which is really nice if they pick up a treasure, because they'll immediately drop it. And it's typically better if you can help it to like stun them before they pick up a treasure, because the treasure just completely stops when that happens. And obviously when the treasure stops, it's not moving and you're losing time and yeah, all that fun stuff.
We're just gonna skip BK3 because it's got a bunch of annoying enemies.
Casually skipping a floor. These enemies are actually really stupid. Luckily, we like don't fight any and pay off debt.
No, you got 1 on Enter FC.
We don't kill it. You kind of like distract it so it doesn't like ruin all your bridge Pikmin, I guess. You see those guys a lot more in all treasures, so you know. Another little thing to worry about. I don't think both treasures are in this room, but at least one is. And I'm going to... Okay. So there's a glint beetle on this floor. Okay, they are both in here. Good thing I checked. So we're going to lure this guy back so he doesn't, like, ruin us. So this guy has a huge hitbox where he can squish Pikmin. Not quite as absurd as Pikmin 1, but it's still pretty big. I'm just going to go ahead and collect everything here. Or at least aim.
This is also another floor where you can get some easy nectar on some layouts. And you can also grow purple Pikmin if you lost some. So this floor has kind of just a bunch of backups.
It also has a lot of irritating things that can instantly kill your Pikmin. Luckily that did not happen, but that is a floor where many people have lost many runs as well. Okay, I'm gonna wait on the Wollywog body because it's 7 Pokos. The Anode Beetles are only 3 Pokos, so I will not be waiting on many of those if I can help it. But the Wollywog is generally something where, like, as long as it's, like, reasonable to collect, we usually do, because it's, like, essentially, like, one of our, like, routed-in sources of bugs that we hope to get every run. Oh, jeez, this is a weird hallway situation. I'm debating using that egg, but I think it would be slower than just leaving. You might think that it would be worth taking an egg like that, considering I have like 40 blue leaves with me, but the blue leaves actually don't really do much in this cave. They're just kind of here because it'd be slower to like put them away. This floor is complicated. I'm gonna assume nothing's over there. So, we haven't really mentioned how, like, layouts and stuff generate in this game, but the basic idea is that the game likes to spawn treasures far away and in the path of dangerous enemies. So, I saw no enemies in that other room, so I figured there was a decent chance of there at least being something in here. If not both things, which there did end up being both things.
Yeah, there's 2 Bulborbs on this floor, and only one of them has a treasure. So if you see both in the same room, you know it's going to be there.
Yeah, there's a lot deeper implications of the constraints that the game generates layouts with. Usually we call that score as a shorthand. But yeah, it's pretty complicated when you start like digging into it, but the TLDR is you just generally want to go to places with far away spawn points and surrounded by enemies, if you can help it, because those are the more likely places to have treasures. And we're gonna be kind of not really like manipulating this or abusing it, but we're gonna be keeping it in mind when reading layouts. Just because like it helps to have some sort of idea where stuff is, as opposed to just like looking around aimlessly hoping you see it. This is another boss floor, exactly the same every time. There are boss floors in the game that are not exactly the same every time, but I don't think we see any. Well, we see one. We see one in Path Dat.
Yeah, or I guess technically, I guess technically. Staggered Hole 7
Yeah.
and Citadel of Spiders 5 are technically different, but it's like kill the enemy and then go to the alcove with the hole. So it's like not really any thinking RNG.
So that was Emperor Bulblax. He exists.
Yeah, they forgot to give him spawn armor, so you can just kill him instantly.
This knapsack, okay. This white likes to not cooperate with me for some reason. But yeah, this knapsack saves a little bit of time. You can actually walk up the fire geysers without the storage guard, but that was faster, so let's do that. Also, I guess pretty good time to talk about the idea that like generally we route these floors in such a way that we have the slowest thing be the thing that we prioritize. So on this floor, the gyroid is like miles and miles away from the ship, so we get that moving as soon as we can. Going so far as to completely ignore Emperor Bulblax and start the gate being knocked down before killing him. That's very important because even though we got it moving really quickly, it's still gonna take like forever to get in, even with max loaded with lights. But yeah, so this is a pretty obvious example of it, but basically every floor in the game uses this principle to some extent. We try to get the farthest away thing and the thing that's going to come in last moving with whites, so it takes less time than it would otherwise. So yeah, generally it's good for going fast. If you aren't as good mechanically, but you still want to get a good time, you'll get a lot of mileage out of just making sure the whites go on the last treasure and that you get it moving quickly.
We have about a minute of downtime here if you want to say a few things.
All right. Well, first of all, how's everybody doing out there in chat? Everybody enjoying the Pikmin 2 run thus far? I know I am. I've actually learned a lot. In particular, the fact I didn't know that if you entered a sub-level with Louis, that Olimar wouldn't be in your party. That is news to me. I also thought it was interesting how I mentioned earlier that electricity was one of the more daunting things to me in my first playthrough, but you guys sort of disregarded that entirely. But the more I think on that, you're right, because the poison shoots just kind of continually shoot the poison, whereas you do have some downtime with the little electric node things to actually destroy them with any Pikmin type, which is something I never really thought about for some reason. Always fun.
It's actually a bigger window than it looks like to destroy the electricity, but you do have to be kind of on it, because that's a very easy way to just kill a run in like 2 seconds. So, yeah, it's not quite as free as it looks, but yeah, it's not the end of the world.
Another thing I wanted to mention about electricity is the node beetles, or volt beetles, or whatever you want to call them. I think it's node beetles. Those anode beetles, okay. Those enemies are completely harmless when they're just by themselves, if I'm not utterly mistaken.
Correct.
They are also completely harmless if you flip them, because nothing will spark with it when it's flipped. An interesting property that we abuse with them, though, is that when an enemy is off-screen, the game generally doesn't consider it as existing. So we call this deloading. and we use this a lot throughout the run, because as it turns out, it's faster to completely ignore enemies than to go all the way over and fight them and deal with them and potentially lose Pikmin. But the property with anode beetles that makes this tricky is that this is only true for them when they're flipped over. So if you just completely ignore anode beetles, they can still like walk around and spark and stuff when they're off screen. So generally what you need to do to avoid that is to flip them and then deload them. But then the problem is Pikmin can also reload things. Things are loaded when they're either on camera or near a captain or near Pikmin. So if a treasure passed by a bunch of anodes that are flipped, it will continue their timer to become unflipped, and you need to keep track of that when you're trying to deload them. Or else that's also another very easy way to kill a run. Okay,
So we didn't really touch on it there, but we were forced to end the day after collecting the tutorial treasure, so we just used that downtime to flower our blue Pikmin.
yeah, that's a consequence of day 1 extinction from earlier. So you're gonna see a cool trick here. I'm gonna make these whites and this purple go for a little swim. And we're gonna use the blues to make them get thrown all the way over to the other side. So, I don't remember how recent that is, but it's not like... It hasn't been around for a while, but I don't know when it was found. But that saves like 1 or 2 seconds compared to the alternate route. And then here, some pretty tricky throws. Did not get them. I'm holding forward on the stick and on the C stick. Okay, that one worked. That one could be a little finicky depending on your position and facing angle and stuff, but not that hard. Okay, so the theory with this split is this plug needs to come down by the time the buried treasures are finished, because otherwise they will path into the water and you will lose all your whites that were carrying them. So we don't want that, so we gotta make sure that happens quickly. And while we're doing that, we're gonna go over here and get this treasure started. This is the only one we won't collect before the next cave. We're gonna stop it like halfway through because this one takes a while to get in. But we need it down off the ledge before we enter the cave. Coming up is another little knapsack trick. Okay, that was not what I wanted, but that's fine. He won't hit those guys. So this skips the gate that's normally blocking this cave, and it's really easy compared to the one for Bulbac's Kingdom, which was pretty tricky, and you need to do 2 of them. That one, on the other hand, is pretty free. And
yeah,
it saves a pretty good portion of time as well, especially considering we only have 19 whites right now. And
we would also have to build the bridge and bring all the whites all the way over and then start the gate. And then we skip just building the bridge for him, destroying the plug for him, and we can just head straight to the cave. Because Curtis lost a few Pikmin early on in the run, that treasure was a little bit slow to get in, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. As long as we get the 2 buried treasures on this split, because an interesting thing is that if a treasure is fully buried or partially buried, it will get or inside an enemy as well. It will get reset back to its original position if you leave the area without getting it. So we could have left the scrap there and it would have been totally fine, although a little bit slower to do that. But we could not enter this cave without getting the ring and the artichoke. It's very important that those things get in, which they did. That honestly, besides the throws up the slope, that was pretty okay for an above ground. And now we are in one of the more difficult caves. Okay, I am going to check in here. Okay, the gauge went up a little bit, so I'm going to assume it's in here. Okay. Thought I was holding a white. Clearly I was not. So one of the rules of the layout generation is that the game likes to... Is it up top? I thought it was around the back. It's confusing me. Okay. Either way, one of the rules of layout generation is that when the game places a treasure in a room, it cuts the effective score, quote-unquote, of that room in half. So it makes it a lot less likely that the game will put another treasure in there. So I saw the tape was in the other room, so I immediately booked it to this room because I knew it was way more likely that this would be in here.
Yeah, it's also in a split layout like that with a buried treasure. You can quickly check the room to make sure it's in there, and then if it's not, you can just go to the other room. So it's a good strategy in general to just check it real quick.
Yeah, if you're ever not sure, it's definitely a viable strategy to just check spawn points to see if you need to go that way or not. And even on floors where there's multiple things that you need and like multiple treasures, it's also a viable strategy to just go to where you know something is first, because there's a chance on various floors that both of the things you need will be in there. Okay, so these guys are pretty scary, but luckily we can down them with one purple and they will never get back up. I threw a few too many bites on it, so it takes a while. I'm gonna ignore this guy though. Hopefully that snitch bug doesn't cause issues. So cool other thing with deloading is that bomb rocks can also be deloaded. I'm gonna play it safe, because I do not want to lose the whole run to that or be forced to reset. But yeah, if you deload a bomb while it explodes, it will not set off other bombs that are near it. Which was not the case here because there were no nearby bombs, but generally this is good to keep in mind. Okay. Fuck these guys, because if Pikmin are buried in the ground and you leave the floor, you do not get to keep them.
You also get like a 2-second text box telling you you have Pikmin left behind,
Yeah.
which is not great to get.
So that floor could have gone a little better, but that's kind of a scary floor to try and do fast on certain layouts, so, you know, it's whatever.
Yeah, some layouts are very easy to do fast, and then sometimes you get shenanigans like that.
Is it a three-way split on this? Oh, yes. Not quite a three-way split. Okay, so this is one of the most complicated floors in the entire game. Shout out to Cap for basically writing the book on this floor. Cap Revenge is his username, his full username. But yeah, he basically configured like a flowchart for how to play this floor correctly. I probably will not be playing it like 100% correctly, but hopefully I will do it to the best of my ability. So this buried beetle has a treasure, and then there's two like freestanding treasures. So 3 in total, and playing 3 treasure floors is a lot more difficult than playing floors with less treasures, just because trying to find the optimal order of operations, so to speak, is a lot more difficult.
Yeah, the more variables you add, the harder it becomes.
Okay, hopefully
this floor
I didn't
has-
leave any purples back there.
This floor is fire, enemies, and then 3 treasures, one of which is inside an enemy, and then 2 are just buried.
That guy knocked Pikmin off the treasure, which is pretty rare. Funnily enough, cannon beetles are one of the more dangerous enemies in the game, but not generally when they're attacking Pikmin that are carrying something. Although there, I guess I just got unlucky with the hitboxes, and some Pikmin died, and I didn't see who. But yeah, I feel like overall that was played fine. Maybe there was a better way to play that, but it just kind of depends. On layouts like that, I feel like whatever you go to last is probably going to be the last thing that gets in, so it's hard to tell sometimes. Okay, so this is a rest floor. We haven't seen too many of these yet, but generally these just have, you know, like candy pops or like things to help you out. I am going to be using all 3 of these here just for safety. If you
In an ideal run, you would only use 2, because it loses time on most layouts to grow all 3.
Also, I hope I don't accidentally use that nectar, because that would be bad. I have to go all the way over across the room to get another egg, if that happened. Okay, and it is going to happen, because that guy is a genius. Louis the captain.
Shoutouts to Louis.
Yeah. Also, grabbing a Pikmin in your hand organizes the party by color and then by leaves and flowers as well. So I use that there to like organize everyone and make the nectaring pretty easy generally. Okay, the hole is there. Okay. So if the hole is in one of the two places to the right of the ship, then there's a trick you can do to save like 15 seconds on this floor, but thankfully did not have to go for it because it's not trivial and this is pretty easy.
We would do the knapsack carry we did on EK7, and we land on the little ledge right there, and we could walk from the little edge to the bottom. It's pretty sick, but it's hard, but you only have to do it half the layouts.
This is a pretty difficult floor. Probably should get that body as well. Okay, so deloading is coming in clutch here because hopefully these digibugs aren't pulling very many bombs. Okay, that guy did. I'm just gonna rush through, get out of there. Okay, rip 2 purples. This floor is very challenging.
Both casually and the speed run.
Hopefully that's far enough. Okay, looks like it was. A lot of using purples to flip things, keep things going. That is a very difficult floor to play well while also avoiding disaster. Because there's electricity, there's poison, there's bombs everywhere.
Name a hazard, it's probably on this floor.
Also, rest in peace that one bug. It just ran straight off the edge.
Oh yeah,
there's
like
clips
to not be alive on this floor, because if something
there's clips of the Dweevil grabbing a treasure with Pikmin on it and then walking into the void with all the Pikmin on it, and it can just kill runs that way.
Yeah, that is something to keep in mind when you're in the middle of a good run and playing this floor. Also, something pretty funny is if a purple dead hits a bomb, like, oh, this layout is awful. But yeah, if a purple hits a bomb, like, square on, the bomb fuse just goes to 0 immediately and it blows up right away. So, definitely don't want to do that.
Purples also home into things a little bit. So they'll sometimes just home into the bomb that's right next to all your Pikmin and just kill everything, which is not ideal.
Okay, so this combat is not very easy. It's even worse on the Wii version because purples don't fly up as high on that version. Get rid of that purple because purples are
Shoutouts
slow.
to the Wii version in general for just being such a meme.
Yeah, Wii version is a very different run from this. There's a lot of the same principles, but it's very, very different to play. And I've tried running it, and if you're not used to the controls, it just does not go very well. But yeah, this layout is very bad because there's a lot of distance here for the things to travel. There's also a roaming groink in the way of these treasures that I have to worry about, which is the things that look like turtles with like armor on their face.
It was the guy we killed during combat.
Can you deload a groink?
No.
You can deload the tower, but not the one that's roaming around.
Yeah, roaming enemies are exempt from deloading for the most part, because they're meant to like roam around the floor even when you're not like paying attention to them, and they're meant to like come up on you by surprise and distract you and ruin your life. But so yeah, they can't be deloaded. So the roaming groink will just do whatever it wants. Also,
but the one in the tower is considered a different enemy, so it doesn't actually get deloaded because it doesn't roam. It just stays in the tower.
Going to the hole. would have been smart of me. I pulled a cap. So a really cool way to lose time is when you're just like messing around on the floor waiting for treasures to get in, and then you realize you don't have a captain at the hole. But yeah.
We like to make fun of Cap for that.
This is another one of those floors where the RNG is very, very big in determining how fast you go. Much like Staggered Hole Sublevel 2, there's not very many floors like that in Payoff Debt, but there are a lot of floors where it's like you can lose like 20 to 30 seconds pretty easily depending on the layout. But floors like that, you can just lose like a minute just because the game said no that day. Also, we are going
Curtis also did a good job staying under 6,840 Pocos, because when he collects the bear statue on this next split, if he was above that Poco count, he would get a 8-second cutscene for 70% of the debt paid off, but he's just below it.
So yeah, Subterranean Complex could have gone a little better. Pretty slow. That 7 was horrendous though, so that wasn't completely my fault, but you know, we live and we move on, I suppose. So we want to put on like the minimum number for that, ideally. That might not actually get in time, but that's fine. We want to move that while we're entering the next cave because there's a whole lot of nothing going on right now. And speaking of a whole lot of nothing, if there's anything you want to say or read right now, you can feel free.
Yes, first of all, I'm a little late to the party on this, but I wanted to say thanks for the raid mozzarella cheese. I just now noticed that happened. Oops. I also, again, wanted to just say that very much enjoying this Pikmin 2 block, and for those of you just tuning in from the raid, you are coming into SDAT 2023. We are raising money for Save the Children. It's a fantastic cause. We got some great incentives coming up, and we've raised over $2,000 already. So let's just keep the donations coming in. Let's keep things rolling, and let's get back to enjoying the run. Although, one other random question about Pikmin 2 here. I've noticed that you've not gotten any sprays yet in this run. Is there a reason for that other than them being slow, or is there, I don't know. You get what I'm asking.
It's mostly
the answer is just that they're slow.
They have a lot of cutscenes attached to them, and they don't save more time than the cutscenes would lose, so you just don't get...
In the All Treasure speedrun and the Glitchless speedrun, they're absolutely worth it to get, but in the Payoff Debt speedrun, there's only like 2 or 3 floors that they would even save time on, and it's like 30 seconds to a minute of cutscenes, and it's just not worth it.
By the way, Cheese is a very based individual and also runs Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, and so do I, so shout out to Cheese. Very active and cool moderator for that community as well. So yeah, the enemies that you saw all around there are doodle bugs, and those are basically just enemies that will run around that you can't like directly kill immediately, and they shoot out poison, and they're really annoying. Luckily they weren't that bad, even though there were 3 of them on top of each other. They can be much worse than they were this time. No, not Cheese.
That's actually pretty good RNG.
Mozzarella Cheese. Cheese 05 is also pretty cool, but Mozzarella Cheese is the person I was talking about. But yeah, that RNG was good. I didn't recognize it very quickly because there was an alcove I didn't see. I thought the second treasure was going to be in the other room, but it was not. Okay, so deloading is going to come in clutch here because you would think that that guy right in the spawn room would be an issue, but if we never have him on camera, then he's just going to not do anything. There's a white all the way over there. Don't want that guy to wake up. Gonna try and put not a lot of Pikmin on this because I want to come back to that before they pass the other enemies that I didn't kill. By the way, you can just do that. If you like stand up against that, you can just throw your purples up there. It's pretty easy.
Wait, you can just stand there? I thought you had to like momentum throw.
Momentum throws work too, but someone found out recently you just stand there. Okay, so if this big guy doesn't wake up, then we just don't have to kill him. This is very close to him waking up, but thankfully that did not happen. Gonna keep that guy. Okay, that guy might actually become an issue now. Or maybe that was the guy in the bar room that's shooting.
Yeah, no, it didn't look like he was shooting. He was just turning.
Yeah, if one of those red cannon beetles starts to shoot, it will like finish shooting a boulder even if you deload it in that instance. So that could have been bad if that guy in the spawn room saw this picture, but thankfully it did not happen. Okay, so this floor is another one with 3 treasures. It's pretty complicated sometimes. There's also a lot of hard to kill enemies. I'm gonna lure this guy back to spawn, make him a little easier. This guy also tends to bring the mega bus of dwarf bulbears with him, and there's also the bulbman here. And I will grab the bulbman for safety, even though it loses a little bit of time. Okay.
It's also cool to just show off the bulbman.
So what I did there is I dismissed my entire party, and then I whistled everyone, and I dismissed again in the instant before they all would have like rejoined me, or before. I feel like I said that wrong. I dismissed, whistled, dismissed, basically, and that meant that I kept all my Pikmin with me, but Louie stayed in place, which is really cool because that's a really fast way to just leave a captain in a spot if you need to do that. So I left Louie over here because I saw that the candle was here. This alcove can have a bomb in it, so do not leave the alcove treasures alone. Otherwise, you will have a bomb spawn when you aren't expecting it, and you will be very sad. Try and get a few more bodies during the downtime, and okay, that went pretty well overall.
Yeah, it's a pretty good play.
You guys mind if I chime in with a quick donation?
Go ahead.
Sure.
All right, we have a $5 donation from The Conductor, who says, "Can we get a $5 train? Choo-choo." Thanks for the donation, and it goes towards the Pikmin 3 Deluxe incentive of make the end a bit more difficult or slightly harder, depending on your wordage.
I don't actually know what SB means with that incentive, so I guess we'll just find out when we get to that part in his run.
I basically had it so you just do the last 3 days in a different order so all the enemies respawn, but...
Oh, interesting. So you don't normally get to see this with Bulbman, but I'm playing it a little safe because the cycle of that electric wire was a little bit funky. Okay. So these guys are my least favorite enemy in the whole game. They're called Bumbling Snitchbugs. So if you are careless during your combat, these guys will pluck your captain, and when that happens, all your Pikmin get dismissed, and if you're around stuff that will endanger your Pikmin, then that can just clean kill a run, like right away. There's also regular swooping Snitchbugs here, but those aren't as big of a deal.
Yeah, so you got the snitch bugs that attack captains and the snitch bugs that attack Pikmin, and in the later games they just combine them and turn them into one enemy.
This floor, by the way, is my least favorite floor in this entire category, but luckily that was not that bad, thankfully.
It also sucks in the other category as well.
Oh yeah, it's a very painful floor in All Treasures too. But in there are bigger demons in All Treasures, in my opinion, than that floor. Okay, so this guy is in the way of the farther room, so I have to kill him, even though he doesn't have the treasure.
These butterflies can also just get in the way of killing them, which is annoying.
Okay, the Dweevil picked up the treasure before I could, which is really funny. You can't pick up these exploration kit items until they play a little cutscene. Go ahead and stun that guy before he picks up the treasure again. Yeah. Okay, that was, like, acceptable, I guess. You can end up having to kill, like, every enemy on that floor, worst case. giving everybody in the chat a nice fist bump. For some reason, that last text box is glitched, but only on the US version of Pikmin 2. Don't know
US
why.
GameCube version as well.
Yeah. Oh, is it not on Wii either?
No.
That's pretty funny. Okay, so unless this floor is like amazing, we just completely skip it. And even if it is, it's faster generally to just skip it.
You also have lens.
Yeah, having lens is big because that means that even if this layout were good, I probably would just skip it anyway. This floor has 2 of those chess pieces on it, which are 80 Pokos each. The problem with that floor is that there's water everywhere, and blues carry much slower than whites, so getting those treasures quickly is sometimes just not possible, so we usually just don't even do that floor at all. So this is a really big floor. There's nothing over... Okay, yeah. There's also falling boulders. There's also a bunch of these big orange billboards and the little ones. I think everything's... Okay, the bell's over here, so I'm going to get this moving first with blues. And then I'm going to go to the other one with whites because it's buried and further away. Boulder, alright. It's on this side, cool, so I probably have to kill the big guy. Okay, none of those Pikmin felt like hitting the dwarf, so -1 white, I guess. And hopefully the bell didn't pass through any enemies that I just ignored. Okay, it looks like it did not, so yeah, we're just gonna ignore that big guy over there. Yeah, this is another pretty RNG heavy floor. It's also very dark, comparatively to a bunch of the floors we were just doing, so could be a lot worse than this, honestly. And we also have to make sure to take the geyser because the boss in this cave is very, very bad. If we don't do it. Oh, I didn't get the statue outside, that's right. Which means I'm going to get 70% anyway. If I got 2 more Pokos, I would not have got 70%. So that's pretty hilarious. So yeah, generally you get this treasure before the cave, but I severely underloaded it, so it would not have gotten in for another like 20 seconds if I just left it. Yeah, much faster to just do this, even though I got the extra percentage cutscene. So yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of downtime here. If there's anything else that needs to be read out or anything.
Yeah, a couple things. First off, I wanted to say that that previous cave, on my very first casual playthrough of the game, it doesn't list poison as a hazard, but the first floor is covered in doodlebugs.
It does list poison as a hazard, I think. Unless I'm just spreading this information.
It lists poison as a hazard, I think.
Because there's
It
poison
it's all
on
four.
level 3 as well.
Yeah, it's all 4, yeah.
I guess I'm just mistaken then, and I just went in like an idiot. Also, I figured people might want to be updated on the pasta poll that is going on right now. Currently, fettuccine is ahead by about $6. And what is the best pasta type? Trailing right behind fettuccine is gnocchi. So, yeah. And unfortunately, spaghetti is all the way in last place at only $8. Come on, guys. Nobody has no love for the default brand of pasta?
Alright, so we are now in the final area of the run, which is Perplexing Pool, and we're going to be doing 2 caves here. One of them is Citadel of Spiders, and one of them is Glutton's Kitchen. And COS overall isn't that bad, layouts depending, but Glutton's Kitchen is a terror, and hopefully we don't get our lives taken from us in Glutton's Kitchen. By the way, you can go through like a lot of this. Wait, what? I swear you can go through that one. Apparently not this time, I guess. You can also cut through the one that was on the other side of the room a lot more easily. But yeah, I guess for some reason.
The enemies in Glutton's Kitchen also have a chance to just crash the game, which is not ideal.
A little bit less than ideal when that happens. I can't tell if this guy has the treasure because it's right next to this other guy. Or this, okay, they both just fan out some purples. Hopefully they grab on to most of everything. Get this gate going. We haven't seen a whole lot of gates yet, but gates are a thing that limits you a lot. Gates are a thing that limits you. Good English. But yeah, gates are typically pretty slow and are things that you need to take down to get treasures when there's treasures behind them. So prioritizing the slowest thing, getting it moving fast, once again, pretty important principle in Pikmin 2. So this is not very good RNG, but I feel like it was played acceptably-ish. There's mostly whites on that, so I'm not going to fix it. If it were like mostly blues on that treasure, then I probably would whistle everyone off and put whites on, but you know, only having 2 blues on there is like fine. So the next floor is going to be a pretty tricky one because it's pretty huge. There's 2 gates, there's a buried treasure, there's anode beetles everywhere. Yeah, I don't really like this floor, but hopefully with good play we can mitigate a bad layout. Oh, this looks pretty good actually. Depending on what's over on the other side. Okay, I've tried to hit that guy on his way over, but it didn't really work out. I'll put a few more on this. See what's over here. It's the hole. Okay, just gonna ignore that and leave. That purple may or may not die, but you know, it will have been for a good cause. This is risky, but okay. Okay, 1 purple dead, that's fine. I thought the 2 closer ones were going to spark with each other, but that clearly did not happen. So this behind here is a buried treasure, so ideally you get this started first, but again, I like the principle of go to the thing that where you know there's a treasure first, because both things could be over there. So, you know, I guess in an ideal world, maybe this was not the right way to play this, but, you know, fine. I do not have as many whites over here as I meant to. Okay, so now the deal with this is to flip anodes, make sure they don't cause problems. I'm gonna pluck these guys while those guys are flipped. Whoa. Oh, okay, that was the switch bug. I thought those anodes knocked Pikmin off the treasure for a second because of the timing of the flip back over. But I think there was just not a purple on the switch bug.
So this next floor, we're just going to be running to the exit if you want to say something.
I think we're all clear at the moment. I just want to remind everybody, for those of you just tuning in, this is SDAT 2023. We're raising money for Save the Children, and as I've mentioned before, we've already raised over $2,100. I would love to see us get to $2,200 by the end of this Pikmin block in general. That would be great. But other than that, yeah, we're just straight chilling, and I'm kind of mesmerized by the Pikmin myself, honestly.
Oh, that was not the right way to go. Okay.
Yeah, you can get
that to connect right there, but clearly it didn't. Those 2 Pikmin that water dumple ate are probably dead. Oh, and it wasn't even gated, so that's lovely. I wasted a bunch of time bringing my Pikmin over.
Yeah, you usually have to deal with a couple gates, so you bring your Pikmin with you, but if you know it's not gated, you can just leave them at spawn.
That is one floor that can lose a lot of time in like you get there in a PB attempt and you're like, oh, this is an easy floor, I can kind of relax a little bit, but you just cannot, because that floor can lose like 30 seconds if you get a bad layout or go like the wrong way or something. Also, this trick is going to be pretty cool if I get it. Okay, I didn't get the pound damage, but that still did a lot of damage. Okay, I misplaced my cursor there. So what I tried to do there is get pounds on the round part of his body. You need a pretty specific positioning and angle to do that, but yeah, it's not that bad if you miss it, it's just a little bit slower of a fight. Flint beetle there. Nope. In fact, I don't know why I checked over there, because the treasure passed through it, so there's no way it would have been there. I'm very smart, as always. Yeah, a little bit of downtime for the next, like, 2 minutes or so. Just gonna be finishing up this cave, getting to the next one.
We would normally collect the treasure here on the way to this next cave, but because we got the lens in Staggered Hole sublevel 6, we can just... This is a treasure that we skip.
Yeah, the treasure is aquatic mine above ground. And it would look at first to be kind of out of the way to get, but it's actually pretty good value for a treasure. It's just that, like, it's like a 40-second treasure for 80 Pokos, so as far as the grand scheme of the run, it's usually the first thing that we try to skip when we get an optional treasure.
It's worth it, but it's still, like, the slowest one that's worth it. If that makes any sense.
So we're gonna hopefully juke this guy. Perfect. Totally, if I totally wouldn't have lost like 10 purples if I walked like very slightly the wrong way there. So this way of dealing with these scales is pretty cool. And then we do a little knapsack trick right here. Because Glutton's Kitchen has an electric gate in front of it, and as you see, we do not have yellows in our party, so breaking down an electric gate would be a little hard. Thankfully, we just do not have to bother with that at all, and can just go in here. The only hazard in the cave is electricity, and the only Pikmin type we don't get is yellows. So, yeah, it's pretty funny in my opinion.
These enemies can also just sometimes crash the game.
Not
So
these ones.
hopefully that
On the
doesn't
next
happen.
floor.
Not these ones.
It'd be pretty
But-
hilarious if dwarf bullbears could crash the game, though.
Yeah, but the main enemy in this cave is bread bugs, and they can crash the game. So let's hope they don't.
Ooh, that cookie is actually gettable, but I don't think I need it. So the treasure we plan to get on this floor always is the bottle cap, but the cookie right there is in like the one position where it's like basically a free treasure, but I'm going to be getting treasures on the final floor, and those are also essentially free treasures, and they're worth more than the cookie, so I do not need the cookie. I just need to pay attention to how many bugs I need, because by the time you get to the last cave, you're counting down to the exact Poco on how many bugs you need. So at this point, I know I only need 12 extra bugs, which means
And you
I
can get
like,
most of them on the last floor.
yeah. So this is a pretty RNG variance floor. Let's see how it goes. Oh my god. The other treasure was here, right? Did you see it?
I didn't see it on the come down.
I think this layout's missing the treasure, which is pretty
Okay, so I was about to talk about it, but it's like a 1 in 200 chance that a treasure just doesn't spawn
I'm gonna
on
check
this
before I
floor.
reset, yeah.
So
That is like
uh,
0.1% chance or something ridiculous.
less than 1%.
So there's meant to be a set of castanets on that floor. They're worth 120 Pokos, and there's a small chance that it just does not spawn. There's one other treasure like that. It is on Subterranean Complex 7, but that one's a little bit more common to not spawn. Okay, this more looks like what I'm used to. The other problem with the castanets is that they can get stolen by a bread bug, which is very not good. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I kind of needed to kill those anodes before doing anything. I don't see any bread bugs over there, so I'm just kind of gonna deal with it this way. Okay. Mildly terrifying. Gonna just pretend like nothing happened. Whites on this, and then rush back to see if I have to flip anodes. I do want to collect some of these ones over here. Okay, I'm probably just going to commit to this one instead of trying to get both of them. I didn't have enough speedy Pikmin to try and get both of those bodies. So, yeah, it's better to commit to one and get one than to try and get both and get neither of them. But yeah, by the way, for context, a treasure missing on this floor has happened to like 4 people, or like 4 times in runs ever. I think
this run is cursed. It had Metites, it had this.
Yeah, it had early game Metites. It has lens, which like never happens to me. Even in PB attempts, I'd like never get that. Okay, so this floor is... I didn't even see which way to go. I think it's this way. No, it's not that way. It's this way. Okay, so there's another one of these guys. I don't have very many purples, but hopefully this is one. Okay. So purples have a percentage chance per enemy to stun whatever they are, like, pound nearby. Which is a different percentage for every enemy. Where is the white goodness? Here it is. So one of these treasures can be up on a high ledge that normally requires yellows to get. And as I mentioned earlier, we don't have yellows in this run, so you would think that we would just be completely screwed, but thankfully there is a way to... Oh, this treasure didn't get in. That would have been bad. Bread bugs can steal that. But yeah, if normally we would just be screwed, but there is a way to do purple trick shot throws to get the high treasures. So that's pretty nice. They're not terribly hard either, which is nice. If they were inconsistent, then this would be a lot scarier of a run.
It can also happen on Glutton's Kitchen too, but it's less likely to happen, so you rarely see it.
Yeah, on this floor it's like 66% chance that something is high and requires those throws. On that one, it's
Glutton's
like
Kitchen 2 is like 1 in 6.
Yeah, it's like pretty rare. I could have waited for those bugs, but I don't need very many bugs in general, so I just decided to leave.
I mean, Clackerless is pretty rare, but we still saw it.
Okay, so this floor is pretty dangerous if it is not the second to last floor you're doing in the run, but thankfully it is the second to last floor I'm doing in the run. So I am just going to ignore all these enemies and just not care. If you play this floor in AT, you have to play it a lot safer.
You have to kill every single one of those enemies on the way and avoid the boulders, but because we only have one floor after this, we don't care if we lose like 15 or 20 Pikmin because the run's over.
In AT, you're kind of a little annoyed if you lose like 1 or 2 Pikmin on this floor. But in Payoff Debt, it's not uncommon at all to see like 10 or 15 deaths. So... I do not want... Okay, they're just going to have a feast with those Pikmin, I guess. I do not want to load the guy that is on the big plate in the spawn room, because then he'll start shooting at the treasures. So yeah. It's fine to have like 10 deaths or whatever on this floor, but having like 30 is not ideal, so... Definitely want to keep that guy deloaded in the middle. Okay, and the magic number entering the final floor is 9715. And that assumes you get every treasure and the giant bread bug body. So I have 08, so I need 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I need 7 Pokos, so I need 3 Enos. Math is hard, as it turns out. So the strat for this floor is pretty cool. So giant bread bug is a really annoying enemy, and we don't really have a quick kill for it. So we're gonna kill these anodes to give him something that he can grab. Probably kill one more as well, because we do need to collect 3 of them. Okay, that did not have... Okay, still doesn't have the minimum. Giant bread bug is doing whatever he wants out of bounds, which is not what you want to see. Okay.
Yeah, this enemy can sometimes be very nice and collect it right away, or he'll just like go take a walk around the map before
he's
coming
carrying
in.
it the wrong way, which is cool. You do not want to see him carry this around that way, so this is going to lose a little bit of time. So Giant Breadbug's AI is really weird. He only tracks things that are like really, really close to him that he can grab. So he ended up like going out of bounds on the other side of the map, and just he was way too far away from anything to be able to track it. So I need to get him to around here, and then I can put lights on this. And then I want to stop these bodies around here, so that Giant Breadbug has something that he can grab immediately after this cutscene. It looks like he grabbed the anode body in the middle of the cutscene, which is not something you see every time. So that should be all the bugs that I need right there, and then Giant Breadbug will drop the final treasure of the run.
Okay, so when we exit this cave, we're gonna get a little cutscene that's like you've repaid the entire debt, and then it's gonna fade to black. When it fades to black, that'll be time. Or cut to black, not fade to black.
This treasure also has like 8 text boxes or something ridiculous in US version.
I think it's 6.
The key also has a lot of text for some reason. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cursed run overall, but I feel like I played it okay.
142 with a reset to collectorless and not the best RNG, so that's very good. So timing will be in like 2 seconds.
Bam. And that is Pikmin 2 Pay Off Debt.
GG. That was fantastic. Got to see some really weird RNG in that run, honestly. Really weird.
Yeah. This is one of the cool things about running Pikmin 2 is that no 2 runs will ever be exactly the same, because there's a lot of variance on floors. There's a lot of cool ways to play them. So yeah, if any aspiring runners in chat feel like this is a game they would like to run, even after you've seen Glutton's Kitchen 3, you still think that, there is a speedrunning Discord for all the Pikmin games. If you go to speedrun.com for any of the games, there will be a link to the Discord, and you can join there. And there's tutorials for each of the 4 main games, whichever one you would be interested in. So definitely check that out. If you end up running Pikmin 2, you will probably have people like me and Cap yelling at you in the Discord. But we do it with love because we love seeing the homies go fast. And that's about it for me. There's some credits here that we could watch if we wanted to, but we don't have to. Yeah.
All right. Again, GG. We got more SDAT 2023 Pikmin block coming up right after this with Pikmin 3 Deluxe. We're going to go ahead and get set up for that now. We'll be right back with you guys here in just a moment. Don't click away. And also, before we go, I wanted to say thanks for the raid, Popcorn Parfait. Welcome in, guys. Hope you enjoy the rest of the Pikmin block. We'll be right back very shortly.